Melissa. My name's Madison. I'm the social worker here at Community Mental Health. It's very nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Before we get started, I just want to touch base with you on what it means to be confidential in my office and with other therapists here. Basically, whatever we talk about, it's going to be between me and you, unless you tell me information that would be harmful to yourself or harmful to other people. And also, we are an integrated team with many different professionals. So if your case calls for some other advice or input from one of my colleagues, um, I might have to talk about that with them just so I could get more opinions and input, like I said. Is there any questions about that?
No, I understand. Thank you for explaining.
Okay. Um, okay. So what's your date of birth, Melissa?
It's March 15th, 1998.
Okay. And how old are you?
I am 24 years old.
All right. Okay. So what brings you in today?
I am just really struggling with my substance use. I do have a criminal record and it's preventing me from finding work. And I'm also just really suffering with depression. I just haven't had much luck, honestly, and I feel like I use substances as a way to distract myself and, like, not having to deal with, like, issues. I haven't had it easy growing up, and, I think that I'm at a place in life where I need to get it together, but the opportunities are not available to me as they are to a lot of other people just based off my record. So I'm really here just seeking advice and counseling to see if there's anything that can be done to help me out and to get back on my feet.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information. I appreciate you being vulnerable. And I'm hoping that throughout this process of us seeing each other, we'll develop a really good relationship in a safe environment. Okay. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Um, if you could be as open and honest as you can, I will really appreciate that. That'll help with developing your treatment plan and going forward. However, if you're just not there yet with me, I completely understand. We'll get everything taken care of. Okay. All right. Who do you rely on for support, Melissa?
Um, it's mainly my mom. My dad is not in the picture. He actually died when I was 12 years old, and that was really hard for my mom and myself. She has struggled ever since,
Okay.
and but she is still like one of the only people in my life that hasn't like given up on me.
Okay.
So I feel like she would be my main supporter.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your loss. Sounds like you've gone through a lot. You've had to try really hard to get to where you are today.
Mhm.
Um, so let's keep going here. And where are you from originally?
I'm from Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. All right. And what's your current living situation?
Me and my mom live in an apartment together, um, and it's mostly on her to keep a roof over our heads because I do have trouble maintaining a job um, and a stable income. So, and I think it's taken a toll on our relationship because I'm older now, and I think she kind of looks at me to help her out, and I still am not able to. So yeah, it's mainly on her right now.
Okay. Well, Melissa, I do have to say it sounds like you have a great deal of self-awareness.
Yeah.
So that's one of your strengths that I can identify just by speaking with you in these brief few moments. Um, okay, and you've lived in Nashville your entire life, would you say?
hmm
Okay. How many siblings do you have? Full-blooded brothers and sisters?
I have one brother, and he is older, but he doesn't come around much. He's married and has a family, and I'm not allowed to be around his kids or his family just because of my own problems. Um, and he thinks that our mom enables me, and so he kind of resents her in a way for just he thinks that she's the main problem on why, like, I have become the way that I am, and so they don't really have much of a relationship either.
Okay. So I know that you just mentioned a brother. Do you have sisters?
No, just
Um,
being
any half or step brothers or sisters?
No, my mom hasn't been with anyone since my dad died. He she's dated, but that she's never remarried or brought any other people, like, into our dynamic.
Okay. Um, does anybody in your family have a drug or alcohol problem?
Yeah, my mom's dad did. He was a really, he had a really big issue with alcohol. And then I don't know of any issues on my dad's side besides just depression and anxiety. Um, but yeah, I do remember growing up, when I was younger, being around, my granddad. He suffered really bad with alcohol.
Okay. Um, so I know that you just mentioned some depression from your dad's side. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Um, who were the family members that struggled with depression?
His sister, so my aunt and, his mom, I
Okay.
called her nanny, but they both suffer with, anxiety and depression. Um,
Too. Okay.
my nanny never was on any medicine for it, or she never s sought out any help. Um, but my aunt that I haven't spoken to her in a while, but from what I know, she does, contain it by being on, medication.
Okay. Um, is there anything else that you would know about as far as family mental health?
Um, Not really. I think it's just a sore subject in my family. I wish it was talked about
Okay.
more, but that's all that I've really gotten, whenever I have asked in the past. My mom just kinda shuts down and doesn't talk about it. There's just kind of like a keep everything under the rug type of dynamic in our family.
Okay.
Um, and I think that's why I am here today because I just need to feel that I guess I'm not the only one struggling, and I know that I'm not, but in my family, it just seems that like I am.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the times, I've noticed that it's really hard for family members to talk about things that they go through. Um, and, everybody handles it differently. Um, and you are absolutely right. You are not the only one going through this. I'm very, very pleased to know that you are aware of that.
Mhm.
And I'm here to reinforce that belief that you are not the only one that is going through this. Okay. Um, is there any history of hospitalizations for any mental illness from you? Have you ever been treated?
Yeah, so I have pretty much kinda tried everything you can, but I did, a couple years ago when I was 22, I believe, I was sent to the hospital for, it was due to alcohol. It was alcohol poisoning, and they also found, like, like cocaine and other things in my system that probably contributed. But I basically, just passed out and it hit my head, which is why they sent me to the hospital, just one for the, poisoning, but also just to make sure there wasn't any brain damage or head trauma or anything.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Mhm.
Can I ask you, did you do this intentionally?
I think that when I don't have a control, like, I when I start drinking or doing whatever it is I can get my hands on, I think it just spirals.
Okay.
Um, and even I think subconsciously it's always, intentional because I'm trying to just avoid and not feel the things that I'm feeling, but I don't necessarily intend for it to get so out of control. I just don't have a good like, control over, like, how my body it's like my mind and my body just don't
Mhm.
just takes over.
Okay. And I've mentioned this earlier in our interview. These are things that we will definitely work on and try to build, in your toolbox. These coping skills, identifying triggers, things like that. Because it's kind of silly to expect somebody to just know how to handle things like that if they've never been taught.
Mhm,
So, right now, I would really like for you to just give yourself some patience and grace. Sounds like you've gone through a lot. Um, and I'm really happy and glad to see you here today. Um, and things will get better for you, okay? We'll work together as a team. So you just mentioned the last hospital visit when you were 22. Is there any other hospitalizations for mental illness or anything since you were 18?
my mom sent me to when I was, it was actually when I was 16. At this point, I was just doing, like, smoking weed, like, it hadn't gotten out of control yet, but it was, interfering with my school, and, my mom sent me to a psych hospital, um, for a week, and I was there, because she didn't really know what to do or how to approach what was going on. So I spent, a week in a psychiatric hospital, when I was 16. I don't really remember it that well. It was all kind of just it just happened so quickly, and I didn't really have, like, a say in it. Um, but other than that, I feel like I should have had more like, hospitalizations for sure. Um, I I will say I've been lucky, especially with just, like, my history and of substances, but, those are the, like, only 2 that I've actually had to been treated,
Okay.
but, I mean, there's been other times I probably should have
Okay.
gone to the hospital, I just didn't make it there.
Okay. That's all right. So now we're kind of gonna switch topics here. I'm gonna ask you some questions about abuse that has been inflicted on you in the past. As far as self harm and suicide goes, we do know that, and I'm gonna explain this to you: the difference between a thought, a plan, and then an intent. Okay, so a thought would be, for an example, it would be something like, uh, "Man, I just had a really bad day at work. I really just wouldn't. I don't even want to be here right now." And then we look at a plan, and it's, "Okay, I had a really bad day at work today. I don't want to be here. When I get home, I am going to drink a whole bottle of wine." Okay. And then when we move to an intent, it's following through with that, drinking that bottle of wine, and then hoping something happens along those lines. Does that make sense to you?
Mhm.
Okay. So, have you ever had a thought of suicide in the past? I know that we just mentioned, when you were 22, um, the alcohol poisoning and things like that. Um, as far as thoughts, have you experienced suicidal thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. What about a plan for suicide?
Um, I think that I've definitely, like, been if I'm coming off of just, like, a bender,
Mhm.
and I either pass out or I think there's definitely been times that I've been sad to wake up, um, but then I also the relief comes with the fact that you woke up. So,
Mhm.
I would definitely say that maybe there's like a subconscious intent there,
Okay.
just maybe not caring whether I do or whether I don't,
Okay.
um, especially
Go
if
ahead.
things
Sorry.
are just really bad.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
How many times have you experienced this feeling? I mean, in a roundabout way.
Um, I would say on a monthly basis, probably like I mean, I have some better weeks, better months, but I would say maybe like the thought is more frequent than the intent, but I would say the intent probably happens at least like once a month or once every other month.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. How are you feeling today as far as those thoughts?
Um, I feel okay. There was a lot of anxiety around me um doing this and talking
Okay.
about everything. But I think just finding a safe place would allow me to um not want to like think bad thoughts as frequently as I do now.
Okay.
Um, but I feel okay today.
Okay. And those feelings are quite normal. Okay. Um, have you ever experienced acts or ever have you ever experienced thoughts of homicide, hurting other people?
No.
Okay. And what about acts of violence?
Um, no. I mean, people have said that the people that I've been around, if I've been under the influence, said that I can be kind of verbally
Okay.
aggressive, but never physical. I think the verbal just comes from being so like angry
Okay.
at myself, and I think I just project that onto others.
Okay. Um, I'm going to ask you some more questions here. Um, thank you so much for being so open up until this point. I really appreciate that. And I'm really getting to know you and figuring out your strengths um, and I just want to say thank you for that. Um, have you ever experienced physical abuse in the past, Melissa?
Um, yes, when I was 13, I was actually raped.
Okay.
Um, it it was by my mom's brother, so my uncle, and he's no longer. Luckily, I wasn't shamed for it. My mom believed me, but it's still and it only happened once.
Okay.
Um, but and it's kind of another one of those situations that I don't remember.
Okay.
I think that I've just kind of blocked. I know that it happened, but I think that I've just completely blocked it out I can't bring myself to that place.
Right.
Um, and I know that that also is a contributor of like why I use substances. Um, but he's no long he nothing ever happened like um with him getting charged or anything like that. But um, yeah, I haven't seen him in years. And my mom doesn't have any contact with him, but that did happen.
Okay. Um, I'm sorry to hear that. And it sounds like that's something that we're going to be processing together. Um, not at this moment, but just please know that we will have that opportunity to process that together um, and work on that. Um, there's a lot of trauma that's involved with that. So
Mhm.
definitely something that we will make a priority. Okay. Along with what you came in here to talk about today and get help for, which is your substance abuse. Um, so, any emotional abuse in the past have you experienced?
I think just, yeah, I think just from family members, like, just the shame and just the comments that are made, and I think they're all very subtle, but I think they've built upon each other over the years, and it's definitely, like it's definitely, like, shaped the way that I, like, think about myself, and I think how, like, everyone in my family looks at me, like, they all pretty much have the same opinion. I just kinda consider that emotional
Yeah.
abuse.
And you're right. You're right about that. Most definitely. Um, I'm really sorry that you've had to experience such behavior from people that are around you the most. Do you have any children, Melissa?
No, no children.
I'm just going to ask you a few more questions and we'll be done. Let's see. Are you currently working?
No, I did, have just, like, a bagger job, at this market down the street from, the apartment that me and my mom stay at, but I couldn't be consistent with it, I wouldn't show up, and eventually they just told me not to come back.
Okay. Um, how many years of education do you have?
I dropped out of school when I was 17, but I did find it in me to somehow get my GED.
Okay.
So I do have that, but I don't have any prior
Okay.
school after that.
Well, it's wonderful that you got your GED. Congratulations on that. Um, So before we end, I just want to talk about your substance use history real quick, okay? I know that you've mentioned alcohol use and cocaine use. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Are you still currently using those substances?
Yeah, and I mentioned, I've kinda, I guess, dabbled in everything. I would say though that those 2 I think those are the 2 that I have the most access to, um, and just the combination just works for me
Okay.
somehow.
Um, so how often do you do these substances?
I would say that I I drink pretty frequently, um, I more so at night, but it kinda goes through all throughout the night, and then I'm, you know, just really down that next day, like, until I get more. The cocaine is more social, if I'm around people that have it, um, but, I mean, I'm not gonna say that I haven't just gone out and gotten it on my own, but it's more of like of a social thing.
Okay. Um, So this is going to complete our assessment for today. We will pick back up on it in our next session next week. I'll finish your assessment. Right now, I've been able to identify alcohol as being the most frequent use for you. Um, you are dealing with a lot of depression symptoms, just feeling down is what you described it as, and there is, some history of trauma. So I won't be able to develop your treatment plan right now. We won't be able to together right now because we still have more questions. Um, so, like I said, I'll pick this back up next week. Do you have anything that you would like to ask me or would like to say before we end our session?
Um, I don't think so, just thank you for listening.
You're welcome, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Um, keep your attitude high and your awareness high. Seems like you're doing well so far. Um, we'll get through this, okay?
Okay,
And have a good week.
thank you, you too.
Thanks.